So if you're saying to yourself, I'm buying this asset for $100,000 a unit and rents are only $850, well, it doesn't have the 1% rule. But guess what?
Hello, Jake Gino here, and today we're discussing maybe it's the golden rule, but it's the 1% rule and how it works. Gang, analyzing deals can be challenging when you're starting out. There's no doubt about it. So today we're going to discuss the 1% rule and how it can be used on the front end when you're sifting for that multifamily gold. All right. Gino, how's it going?
I'm doing great, Jake. I love the analogy, sifting for gold. And the 1% rule was the rage years ago when it worked. And it still works in a lot of markets now. I think as we've gotten into the market cycle and we've gotten into a seller's market, rents haven't gotten as high as the cost per unit. I'm getting ahead of myself because I know there's a lot of naysayers out there that are already saying, that 1% rule,
we
it
gotta
doesn't
tell
work in my
folks
market.
What it is first, though. They may not even know.
What
is it? Yeah.
I'm assuming that all of our listeners are savvy multifamily investors, and a lot of them are, and some of them aren't. And when I was introduced to the 1% rule, for me, it was like nirvana. It's like one of those rules of thumb, right? We like talking about rules of thumb, and it's just one metric that you can use out of the many. And really, the 1% rule, you're looking at rents versus the cost per unit. So very simply, if you're buying an asset that is worth $100,000 per unit, and the rents are $1,000 per month, it's 1,000 divided by 100,000. That's 1%. When we've bought in deals on the 1% rule, they typically look really good. Now, one of the things that I like to say is when you're buying assets in this part of the cycle, and the cycle's changing, it's still sellers, but it's going to buyers, you're buying on pro formas. You're not buying on the broker's pro forma, you're buying on your pro forma. So if you're saying to yourself, I'm buying this asset for $100,000 a unit and rents are only $850, well, it doesn't have the 1% rule. But guess what? If you can go get rents to $1,100 and you paid $100,000 per unit, well, that deal has exceeded the 1% rule. And you can say, ding, 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 win, winner, chicken dinner. That deal makes a lot of sense. So that's one of the ways we use it. And it's such an easy way to look at the deal, because I can look at a deal and say, wow, they want $100,000 a door. These rents are $600. I can maybe get them to $750 or $800 with a lot of work, a lot of effort, taking a long time, and a lot of risk. Is it worth it? I may not even waste my time underwriting that deal. It's just one metric. We have other metrics that we create with the buy right criteria, right? Age, vintage, location. Let's take all that out. This is just one of those things where you're looking at it and going, wow, this thing makes a lot of sense. This thing's $100,000 a door and rents are $950, and I can get these to $1,300. I got to underwrite this deal real quick. It's one of those things where, man, red light, green light. This is a green light. So, we love to use it as just a quick down and dirty metric when we're looking at deals in the beginning.
I think it's a yellow light because you can't just buy based on the 1% rule. So I think
absolutely.
I think it's a really nice yellow light with a shade of green that says proceed with caution, right? Because to your point, you're talking about the buying criteria. You could come in and it's a slum. Or you could come in and it's got flat roofs, it's got aluminum wiring, it's in a flood zone. There's prostitutes and crackheads hanging out in the corner all the time. Like, hey, nothing against the prostitutes and crackheads, because I know we're in a woke, crazy world, but I personally do not participate in that, so I don't want that in my properties. So I think it's the kind of thing where, be careful, because if you bet the farm on the 1% rule and then you're not able to collect rents, or there's a ton of deferred maintenance, it's still not going to be a good deal. This is a nice yellowy greenish sign early on in the analyzing of a deal where you may be able to proceed with caution. So I love looking at it because if I think, hey, the vintage looks good, I think the area is decent, and it's checking the box for a future 1% rule, it's like, hey man, let's really start to dive into this. And to Gino's point, look at the post-renovation amounts. If you're going to go in and do some sort of reno, and currently the rents are at $700, but the market for a 2-bedroom is $1,100, that still may be a deal. So don't just hold your nose, poo-poo, and say, I don't want this. Look what the post-renovation rents are going to be. Again, I think it's a component here. Specifically, it's a component of the buying criteria being a financial component. To Gino's point, you're looking at the median income. You're looking at the vintage, you're looking at the crime. There's a lot of other stuff that's going into this. You're looking at, hey, is this in a flood zone, and how does that affect my insurance? So, I think, to Gino's earlier point, when we've looked across our portfolio, every deal that is, out of renovation stage and is stabilized is exceeding the 1% rule by quite a bit. And especially the longer you hold on to it, the better of a shot you have of getting there. So great little metric, not something to bet the farm on, but a good place to start for those just getting to multifamily.
Before I met Mr. Stenziano and I had started,
Life was tough, wasn't it?
Oh, it was different. I made all the mistakes, and Jake is like, dude, we're buying some great deals. Yeah, because I made all the freaking mistakes before I met you, brother. Anyway, for anybody listening, jakeandgino.com.
Thanks, Gino.
jakeandgino.com/webinar. Just sign up for the next month's webinar. We're going to be discussing, not only just the pitfalls, but what's going on in this part of the cycle and how to continue to buy, because we're going through recession. I mean, right now, the Fed's teetering there. Should we raise rates? Shouldn't we raise rates? We're seeing things stabilize. So we're going to be talking about that on this month's webinar. So sign up, jakeandgino.com/webinar. But what I was about to say was the story that I used the 1% rule early on in my career. I was buying duplexes for $60,000 and the rents were $1,300. And if you go by the 1% rule, man, you are crushing those deals. That's cash flow nirvana. But then peel back the onion a little bit. All of a sudden, they're 1920s. There's a lot of Section 8 housing. They're really old assets. And all of a sudden, you start pumping in $3,000 for a furnace, $8,000 for a roof. And it doesn't matter if you're at the 3% rule. You're never going to cash flow. So it's one of those metrics. Taking a loan can be like, wow, I'm crushing with the 2% rule. But then take the rest of your buy right criteria and apply it to the 1% rule. And for me, when I realized that, I was like, oh, okay, these assets are like cash flowing really well. But when you really start working these assets and start managing these assets, they don't look so good. And what I'm going to say is
annualize them.
Yeah. What I would say is, we always talk about market cycles on the show. Early on in a buyer's market cycle, that 1% rule is going to be much more prevalent because asset prices are dropping, rents are stabilizing. As the market cycle continued over the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen asset prices really escalate, and rents did not keep up until the last 12 to 24 months. And that's why sometimes you're going to see a lot of these assets, especially with a lot of these mom and pops who've owned these properties for years, not raise rents. So you may not get the 1% rule pre-buying, but maybe you're post-buying when you've bought it and you've renovated and repositioned it 18 months later. You will possibly exceed it if you know how to buy these assets and you're looking for it. So like Jake said, and a lot of our portfolio, a lot of our assets, we're starting to exceed it. And that's how you build cash flow. That's how you build the PPU, that profit per unit, because all of a sudden you bought these deals right. You didn't just buy them right, you managed them right, and you're financed them right, brother.
Yeah, when someone gives me a deal or a deal comes across my desk, I feel like the Terminator, like behind my eyeball, it's scanning down for a certain few things. Like I'm looking, is the 1% rule going to be there post-renovation? What is the vintage? What are the roofs looks like? Where's the area? All those buying criteria is like getting calculated behind the scenes. And it's just a quick way to know if you want to move forward with a deal or not. And I know a place where you can meet thousands of people using the 1% rule, and they're just amazing multifamily investors that are crushing it. It's actually the best multifamily community in the United States of America, which makes it the best multifamily community in the world. They're going to be at Multifamily Mastery 6. That is our conference this October. And if you want to get around the right people, if you want to level up your game, you get around people that are doing it at a high level. And that's going to be Multifamily Mastery 6 with the G-Dad and I. So, gang, as always, we believe in buying deals from the long term, think in decades. I'm Jake, he's the G-Daddy, and we will see you at Multifamily Mastery 6 once Gino gives us this quick update.
JakeandGino.com/MM6. You got to give them the link. They got to go buy the tickets. I mean, $197 early bird. Come on, bring your partner for $147 for $300. You're at a conference with over 1,200 multifamily investors. Chris Voss, Brad Lee, Chad Wright, Navy SEAL, Jake, Gino, Luke Wren. The list goes on and on. It's not.
Hold on. DJ Panda. There's going to be a huge concert on Saturday night, and it's probably one of the best lazy rivers that you're ever going to have. Water park right in the middle of the park. Let's effing do this.
I love that.
Gino, we'll see you next time.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to like and subscribe so you'll never miss another episode.